Your Nan's kitchen had no vacuum sealer and no cling film. Yet her cheese never sweated, her biscuits never went soft, and her butter sat out for a fortnight without turning. She kept opened food fresh for weeks with a damp cloth, a jam jar, and knowledge that vanished the moment supermarkets sold us resealable bags. Number 9 got dropped from modern food safety leaflets. Number 3 does something scientists only recently proved. Hit subscribe and let us count down the 25 cupboard tricks that kept a British larder alive. Number 25. The wax disc on the jam. Before we all started scraping mold off the top of a jar and pretending we hadn't seen it, your Nan sealed her opened preserves with a little waxed paper disc pressed straight onto the surface. She would cut a circle to fit the jar, lay it wax side down directly on the jam so no AR touched the fruit, then screw the lid back on. That thin barrier stopped the surface drying out and, more importantly, gave airborne mold spores nothing to land on. A whole roll of waxed discs cost a couple of pence and lined a full year of jam making. Opened jam kept for months in the larder, not weeks in the fridge. Modern jars just have a metal lid and a prayer. Your Nan's jam never grew a fur coat because she understood the enemy was not time. It was the AIR sitting on top of the fruit. Number 24. A sugar lump in the biscuit tin. Nothing was sadder than a bendy digestive, so your Nan kept one sugar lump rattling in the bottom of the biscuit tin. Sugar is hygroscopic, which is a fancy way of saying it drinks up moisture from the air around it. That single lump pulled the damp out of the tin before it could reach the biscuits, and everything stayed snappy for weeks. She always used a proper tin with a tight lid too, never a plastic tub, because plastic sweats. A bag of sugar cubes cost about 4 pence, and one lump did the job for a fortnight before you swapped it. We buy resealable packets now that go soft the second we open them, then blame the biscuits. Your Nan blamed the moisture, and dealt with it for the price of a single cube. Number 23. A slice of bread for the brown sugar. When soft brown sugar set into a brick you could stun a burglar with, your Nan didn't chip at it with a knife. She dropped a fresh slice of bread into the bag, sealed it, and left it overnight. By morning the sugar was soft and workable again, because the moisture from the bread had migrated straight into the dried-out crystals. The same trick kept a fresh bag soft in the first place. It works the opposite way to the biscuit tin, moisture moving toward the drier thing, and your Nan understood both directions by instinct. A slice of bread cost next to nothing, and rescued a whole bag of sugar. We throw the hardened bag away and buy another. She just made the sugar remember what it used to be. Number 22. Mushrooms in a paper bag. The greengrocer sent mushrooms home loose, and your Nan kept them that way in a paper bag in the larder, never sealed in plastic. Mushrooms are mostly water, and they keep breathing after picking, so trapped in plastic they sweat, go slimy, and turn to black soup within days. Paper let them breathe and soaked up the excess moisture, so they stayed firm and dry for a good week or more. She never washed them until the moment they hit the pan, because water was the thing that turned them. A paper bag came free with the shopping. Now they arrive shrink-wrapped in a plastic punnet, sweating from the second we get them home, and we wonder why they go off so fast. Your Nan gave them air, and they repaid her with a week of frying. Number 21. Herbs stood in a jar of water. A bunch of parsley or mint went limp in a day if you shoved it in a drawer, so your Nan treated cut herbs exactly like cut flowers. She trimmed the stems, stood them upright in a jam jar with an inch of water, and popped a loose paper or plastic bag over the top like a little greenhouse. Kept on the cool windowsill or in the larder in summer, they stayed perky and green for 2 weeks instead of 2 days. The stems kept drinking, the bag kept the humidity up, and nothing wilted. A jam jar was free and the water was free. We buy herbs in plastic sleeves, ram them in the salad drawer, and find a slimy black mess 3 days later. Your Nan gave hers a drink, and they lasted long enough to actually use. Number 20. Onions in old stockings. When a pair of tights laddered past saving, they didn't hit the bin. Your Nan dropped an onion into the toe, tied a knot above it, dropped in the next onion, knotted again, and worked her way up the leg until she had a string of onions hanging from a hook in the larder. Keeping each one separate meant air circulated all the way around, and if one turned soft, you snipped it out below the knot without the rot spreading to the rest. Onions stored like this in a cool, dark, airy spot kept for months. The tights were free and the hook cost nothing. We keep onions in a sealed drawer next to the potatoes, where the trapped moisture sprouts them in a fortnight. Your Nan hung hers in the air like bunting, and they saw out the whole winter. Here is where it gets clever. First pattern break. Number 19. Cheese wrapped in waxed paper. Cling film is the worst thing that ever happened to cheese, and your Nan never used it. She wrapped a cut wedge in waxed or grease-proof paper, then loosely in a bit of foil, and kept it in the coolest part of the larder. Cheese is alive with cultures, and it needs to breathe. Sealed in plastic, it can't, so it sweats, goes greasy on the surface, and throws off that sharp ammonia smell as it suffocates. The waxed paper let just enough air through to keep it stable while stopping it drying to a rind. A hard cheddar wrapped this way kept for weeks and only got better. Waxed paper cost pennies a roll. We seal ours in plastic, watch it go slimy and bitter in 10 days, and cut the bad bit off. Your Nan let her cheese breathe, and it thanked her by lasting the month. Number 18. Celery and greens wrapped in foil. A head of celery went rubbery in the fridge within days until your Nan started wrapping it tightly in aluminium foil. The reason is a gas called ethylene, which vegetables give off as they age, and which speeds up their own decline. Plastic bags trap that gas against the celery and rot it fast. Foil lets the ethylene escape while still holding the moisture in, so the celery stayed snappable for 2 or 3 weeks. She wrapped broccoli and spring greens the same way, and they kept their crunch and color far longer than anything in a plastic bag. A roll of foil lasted months and cost about 1 6. We buy celery strangled in cellophane, and it flops within the week. Your Nan gave hers a coat of foil, and it stood to attention for a fortnight. Number 17. Root veg in a box of damp sand. This is the one nobody believes until they try it. Your Nan kept carrots, parsnips, and beetroot buried in a wooden box of just damp sand down in the cool larder or the shed. Layered so none of them touched, tops trimmed off, covered in sand, they kept crisp and sweet for months, right through the winter. The sand held a steady, gentle dampness that stopped the roots drying out and shriveling, while keeping them dark and cool enough to sit dormant. This was how a family ate its own garden carrots in February. A box and a bag of sand cost almost nothing. We keep ours in the salad drawer where they go bendy in a fortnight, then bin half the bag. Your Nan buried hers like treasure and dug them up fresh months later. Number 16. Bay leaves in the flour tin. Nothing ruined a baking day like weevils in the flour, so your Nan tucked a couple of dried bay leaves into the flour tin, the rice, the oats, and the dried pulses. The strong oils in bay leaves put off the little pantry moths and weevils that used to plague every post-war larder, keeping the dry goods clean and usable for months. She never sealed a bag and hoped. She decanted flour into a proper tin with a bay leaf and a tight lid. A packet of bay leaves cost pennies and lasted a year of dropping one in here and there. Weevils were a real and constant enemy back then, and a bay leaf was cheaper than throwing out a whole bag of flour. We keep flour in its paper bag, folded over, and act surprised when something crawls out. Your Nan posted a bay leaf on guard duty. Number 15. Lemons in a bowl of water. A lemon left in the fruit bowl went hard and juiceless within the week, its skin toughening as it dried out. Your Nan kept her citrus fully submerged in a bowl of cold water in the coolest corner of the larder, changing the water every few days. Cut off from the air, the lemons couldn't dehydrate, so they stayed plump, heavy, and full of juice for 3 or 4 weeks instead of drying to a useless lump. The same worked for oranges and limes. A bowl of water cost nothing. We leave ours in a wire basket on the worktop, where they slowly mummify, then squeeze out 3 drops and give up. Your Nan kept hers swimming, and every lemon gave up a full tablespoon of juice a month after she bought it. Now, here is one that would give a modern food safety officer a heart attack. Second pattern break. Controversy incoming. Number 14. A pinch of bicarb in the milk. Before every home had a decent fridge, milk turned sour fast in warm weather, and your Nan bought herself a couple of extra days with a tiny pinch of bicarbonate of soda stirred into the jug. Milk goes sour because bacteria produce lactic acid, and that acid is what curdles it and gives it the off taste. Bicarb is an alkali, so it neutralized that acid and held the souring at bay a little longer, keeping the milk drinkable through a hot spell. Here is the controversial part. It didn't stop the bacteria growing. It just hid the sourness that warned you the milk was turning, which is exactly why it quietly disappeared from the cookery leaflets once fridges arrived. Your Nan used it carefully and sparingly, and only in a pinch, no pun intended. A tub of bicarb cost 4 pence and saved many a wartime cuppa. Sensible advice today says chuck the milk, but she stretched every drop because waste simply wasn't an option. Number 13. Bananas hung on a hook. Bananas laid flat in the fruit bowl, bruised where they touched and ripened to brown mush in days. Your Nan hung hers from a hook or the handle of a cupboard, off the bench entirely, and wrapped a bit of cling film or foil around the crown where the stalks joined. Bananas release ethylene from that crown, the same ripening gas from before, and wrapping it slowed the whole bunch down. Hung up, nothing pressed against anything, so no bruising either. The bunch stayed yellow and firm for a good week longer. She also kept them well away from her apples, which pumped out ethylene of their own and would have ripened the lot overnight. A hook cost nothing. We dump ours in a bowl on top of the apples and they're speckled brown by Thursday. Your Nan hung hers up and capped the crown, and they lasted the week. Number 12. Tinned food out of the tin. The moment a tin was opened and half used, your Nan tipped the rest into a ceramic or glass bowl, covered it, and never once left food sitting in the opened can. She knew that once the seal was broken and air got in, the tin itself started to react with the food, and beans or tomatoes left in an open can took on a dull metallic tang within a day. Decanted into a bowl, the same leftovers kept clean tasting in the cool larder for 2 or 3 days. It cost nothing but a spare bowl and 30 seconds. This one actually made it into official guidance for years and is still sound advice today. We leave the half tin in the fridge with a scrap of foil on top and wonder why the tomatoes taste of pennies. Your Nan got them out of the metal, and they tasted of tomatoes. Number 11. Tomatoes stem side down. Never ever in the fridge. Your Nan kept tomatoes at room temperature, stem side down on the windowsill or the larder shelf, and they lasted far longer and tasted 100 times better for it. Turning them stalk scar down sealed the one opening where air and moisture could sneak in and start the rot, so they stayed firm from the bottom up. The cold of a fridge destroys a tomato, killing the flavor and turning the flesh woolly and mealy, which is why she kept them well away from it. A few pence a pound, and they ripened sweetly on the sill over a week or more. We shove ours in the salad drawer, kill the taste stone dead, and then complain that supermarket tomatoes have no flavor. Half the time it isn't the tomato, it's the fridge. Your Nan knew that, and turned hers upside down. Number 10. Bacon rolled in greaseproof. A rasher of bacon left open in its plastic packet went slimy and grey within a couple of days, that telltale slippery film being bacteria multiplying in the trapped damp. Your nan rolled your bacon loosely in greaseproof paper, stood the little parcel on its edge in the coolest part of the larder, and it kept firm and pink for a week and beyond. The paper wicked away the surface moisture the bacteria needed while still letting the meat breathe. The salt already in the bacon did the rest of the preserving, the way it always had. A roll of greaseproof cost pennies. We leave ours slumped in a resealing pack, sweating in its own juices, and bin it grey and glistening by Wednesday. Your nan gave hers a paper wrap and a bit of air, and it fried up clean days later. Now for the one that fed a whole street before the fridge existed. Third pattern break. Number 9. The meat safe and the muslin. Before electricity hummed in every kitchen, your nan's mother kept perishables in a meat safe, a little cupboard with fine mesh or perforated zinc sides, hung in the coolest, shadiest corner of the larder or the north-facing wall of the scullery. The mesh kept the flies out while letting cool air flow through, so meat, milk, and butter stayed fresh for days with no power at. Over the milk jug she draped a square of muslin weighted at the corners with little beads, keeping the flies off while the milk breathed. In hot weather she stood the butter dish in a shallow bowl of water with a damp cloth over it, and evaporation kept it cool. All of it cost a few shillings once, and lasted a lifetime. This whole system quietly vanished from the food safety leaflets the day fridges took over, but it kept a family fed through summers with no electricity at all, on nothing but shade, mesh, and moving air. Number 8. Spring onions in a jam jar. The leftover half bunch of spring onions, and the sad remains of the parsley, went straight into a jam jar with an inch of water on the windowsill. And here's the magic. They didn't just keep, they carried on growing. Standing in water in the light, spring onions put out fresh green shoots, so your nan was effectively harvesting the same bunch 2 or 3 times over. Soft herbs like parsley and coriander drank from the jar and stayed fresh and green for a fortnight. A jam jar was free and the water cost nothing, and the bunch you bought once fed you 3 times. We stuff the leftover half back in the fridge in its bag and scrape out the slime a week later. Your nan stood hers in water on the sill, watched it grow, and snipped fresh green onto her mash for a fortnight. Number 7. A slice of bread in the cake tin. A homemade Victoria sponge dried out fast with no preservatives in it, so your nan dropped a slice of fresh bread into the cake tin, cut side against the cut face of the cake. The cake pulled moisture from the bread instead of losing its own to the air, staying soft and fresh for days, while the bread went hard as a board, having sacrificed itself for the greater good. For fruitcake she used a wedge of apple the same way, and the extra moisture kept it rich and moist for a week. A slice of bread cost nothing, and saved a whole cake from going stale. We wrap ours in foil, watch it dry out anyway, and blame the recipe. Your nan gave her cake something to drink from, and it stayed as soft on Friday as it was on Monday. It's the same logic as the brown sugar, just running in reverse. Number 6. Apples wrapped in newspaper. Windfall apples in autumn were a treasure your nan made last until spring, and the secret was to keep them from touching. She wrapped each sound apple individually in a sheet of newspaper, laid them in a single layer in a wooden crate, and stored them somewhere cool and dark. Apples pump out ethylene gas, and one rotting apple wrapped loose among the others would ripen and spoil the entire crate within a week, hence the old warning about the bad apple. Wrapped separately, that gas stayed contained, and if one turned it was sealed off from the rest. Sound apples stored this way kept for months. Newspaper was free, and yesterday's news finally earned its keep. We pile ours in a bowl where one soft apple takes the whole lot down. Your Nan wrapped hers one by one and ate her own orchard in the depths of winter. Number 5. Potatoes in a Hessian sack. Potatoes wanted 3 things: dark, cool, and dry. And light was the enemy that turned them green and bitter, that green being solanine, which is genuinely mildly toxic. Your Nan kept hers in a Hessian or paper sack in the larder or the shed, never in a clear bag on the worktop, and never, ever in the fridge, where the cold turns their starch to sugar and ruins them. Crucially, she kept them well away from the onions. Onions give off moisture and gases that sprout potatoes fast, and the two stored together spoiled each other in a fortnight. Kept apart, in the dark, in breathable Hessian, a sack of spuds lasted for months. The sack came free with the sack of spuds. We keep ours in a plastic bag in a bright kitchen next to the onions, and they sprout and green within the week. Your Nan gave them the dark, and they kept till spring. Now for 3 that sound like old wives' tales, right up until science caught up and proved every one of them. 4th pattern break. Number 4. Honey that never spoils. Your Nan kept a jar of honey in the cupboard for years, never in the fridge, and it never once went off, because honey is one of the only foods on earth that genuinely does not spoil. It holds almost no water for bacteria to live in, it's naturally acidic, and it slowly produces tiny amounts of hydrogen peroxide, so nothing can grow in it. Archaeologists have found pots of honey in ancient Egyptian tombs, thousands of years old, and it was still perfectly edible. If it crystallized and went cloudy, she never binned it. She stood the jar in a bowl of warm water, and it turned clear and golden again, good as new, which is exactly why she kept it out of the cold fridge that speeds crystallizing up. A jar lasted years. We refrigerate it, panic when it sets solid, and throw out food that would outlive us all. Your Nan just kept the lid on. Number 3. Berries in a vinegar bath. This is the one scientists were slow to prove, and your Nan had known it for decades. The moment she got soft fruit home, strawberries, raspberries, the lot, she gave them a quick bath in a bowl of 1 part white vinegar to 10 parts cold water, swirled them about, then rinsed and dried them thoroughly before storing. That diluted vinegar killed the mold spores already sitting on the fruit from the field, the invisible spores that turn one berry fuzzy and take the whole punnet with it in 2 days. Rinsed and properly dried, the berries kept firm and clean for well over a week, sometimes 2, with no taste of vinegar at all. A splash of vinegar cost pennies. We tip the punnet straight in the fridge, spores and all, and find a fuzzy grey graveyard by Thursday. Your Nan washed the enemy off first, and doubled the life of every punnet. Number 2. Eggs pointy end down, and never washed. Your Nan stored her eggs pointy end down in the box, and she never ever washed them until she was ready to crack them. Turning them point down kept the yolk cradled in the center, and the little air pocket up at the round top, which kept each egg fresher for far longer. But the real secret was leaving them unwashed. A fresh egg comes coated in a natural invisible layer called the bloom, which seals the thousands of tiny pores in the shell and locks bacteria out. Wash it off and you strip the egg's own defense away. That's the whole reason eggs sit unrefrigerated on the shelf in Britain, bloom intact, and keep for weeks at room temperature. A carton kept happily in the cool larder. We scrub ours and stick them in the fridge door, the warmest, most jostled spot there is. Your Nan left the bloom on and pointed them down, and they kept for a month. Number 1. Butter kept underwater. And the one that beats every gadget in your kitchen. Your Nan kept her butter fresh and spreadable, out on the side, for weeks, with nothing but a little crock and some cold water. She packed soft butter into a French butter crock, a small pot with a lid that hung down into a base holding an inch of cold water, and set it upside down. The water sealed the butter away from the air completely. Butter goes rancid because oxygen reacts with the fat, and the water seal simply blocked the oxygen out, so the butter stayed sweet and fresh for 2 or 3 weeks at room temperature, always soft enough to spread straight onto bread. She changed the water every few days, and that was the whole job. The crock cost a couple of shillings and lasted a lifetime. We keep ours rock hard in the fridge, tearing our toast to shreds, then buy a plastic tub of spreadable oil blend and call it progress. Your nan kept real butter under water, soft as anything, for the price of an inch of water. So here's my challenge. Pick one this week. Just one. The wax disc, the vinegar berries, the butter under water, the pointy end down eggs. Try it, and come back and tell me your nan was onto something. Because these weren't superstitions. They were a whole science of keeping food alive that we swapped for resealable bags and a big cold box. Tell me in the comments which one you're trying and which nan trick I've missed, because someone's grandmother out there is still doing something clever that the rest of us forgot. Your nan knew. Now you do too.